Welcome back, everyone. It has been 1 year since I did my last bookshelf tour, and I decided, well, why not do an updated bookshelf tour? Maybe I will do these bookshelf tours each and every year at this exact date, early on in the month of March. It's been 1 year since my last bookshelf tour. So now I'm going to give you an updated bookshelf tour because my bookshelves have changed quite a bit since last year. But anyway, let's get started. First up, we have this incredible map of Middle-earth up here on the wall, and then over here we have my Tolkien bookshelf. So I think I'm going to start from the top of the bookshelf and slowly work my way downwards, and after that I'll go through this bookshelf and then the bookshelf on the other side of the room, which you usually see in all my videos. So let's just start at the very top of my Tolkien bookshelf. First up, we've got, of course, The Letters of Father Christmas. This is a beautiful edition with a lot of illustrations inside. The Silmarillion, beautiful edition, illustrated by the author that has Elvish on the edges of the pages, which I love. The Hobbit, illustrated by the author. And The Lord of the Rings. This thing is incredibly heavy. A Dictionary of Tolkien, and an Atlas of Tolkien, beautiful editions. A Tolkien Miscellany, this is a collection of some short stories and poems by Tolkien. It has Leaf by Niggle, Farmer Giles of Ham, Smith of Wootton Major, and all the poems in the Adventures of Tom Bombadil inside it. And here we have a boxed set of the Great Tales of Middle-earth, which include The Children of Húrin, my favorite Tolkien book, Beren and Luthien, and The Fall of Gondolin. And next is this lovely edition, these little pocket editions of The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. This is the first Tolkien, these are the first Tolkien books that I ever owned, that I was given for, like, my birthday a really long time ago, and I was about 7 years old when I first read them. The Hobbit, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. And then just this little golden clock over here, which I love. And then going down from the top shelf, crank it down. The next Tolkien shelf. The Lord of the Rings Official Movie Guide by Brian Sibley. Tolkien's World, a fantasy coloring book. I always love all the illustrations in this. And then a whole bunch of books not written by Tolkien, but written by David Day, that are about Tolkien and his world. A Dictionary of Tolkien, an Atlas of Tolkien, The Battles of Tolkien. I love this one. It has, like, maps of all the battles in the Silmarillion and The Lord of the Rings, and it's a really great book. The Heroes of Tolkien, The Dark Powers of Tolkien, The Hobbits of Tolkien, probably my favorite book in this whole collection. And finally, the Ring Legends of Tolkien. And then I have the History of Middle-earth series, volumes 6 through 12, in hardcover. I love these editions. Unfortunately, I do not own the first 5 volumes of the History of Middle-earth in this hardcover, so we're just gonna have to start on volume 6. The Return of the Shadow. The Treason of Isengard. The War of the Ring. Sauron defeated. Morgoth's Ring. The War of the Jewels. And finally, the Peoples of Middle-earth. And also the History of Middle-earth Index. Yes, this entire book is literally a 500-page index to the entire History of Middle-earth series. Oh, and I just quick wanted to share with you, another thing that I love about these editions is that they have reversible covers. So I personally prefer these covers, but if you don't like this cover, then you can just take the dust jacket, you turn it inside out, and there's a different cover inside that you can use. Here. There. But I personally do like these covers a lot more. We have here The Adventures of Tom Bombadil in paperback, a paperback version of The Children of Húrin, and finally Hobbitus Ile. Now this is The Hobbit, only the entire thing is translated into Latin, which I love. Another thing that I love is that the page numbers are Roman numerals, which is amazing. I really want to travel back in time to ancient Rome, so the Romans, and I could, like, give all the Romans a copy of The Hobbit, of this book, so then the Romans could read The Hobbit for themselves. Everyone should read The Hobbit. It's sad that the ancient Romans missed their opportunity. Let's go down another level to the next shelf, which just has a whole bunch of paperback Tolkien books. Starting off, we've got, of course, The Hobbit. 1-volume paperback edition of The Lord of the Rings, which has this inside and also a map. I love this edition. The Silmarillion. And here I would have the Fellowship of the Ring in like a mass market paperback, but a friend of mine is currently borrowing it, so I don't have it. So we're gonna have to skip right ahead to The Lord of the Rings, Book 2, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. The Tolkien Reader, another collection of short stories and poems by J.R.R. Tolkien. Unfinished Tales of Numenor and Middle-earth. And the first 5 volumes of the History of Middle-earth in paperback. The Book of Lost Tales Part 1. The Book of Lost Tales Part 2. The Lays of Beleriand, with the binding all torn apart. The Shaping of Middle-earth. And The Lost Road and Other Writings. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. Another copy of Unfinished Tales. The Silmarillion. And the Tolkien Reader. The Fall of Numenor. Beowulf. And now, let's go even lower. Oof. All the way down here. First up, I have this thing over here, which inside it has the One Ring to rule them all. And don't worry, guys, it definitely does not actually work in real life. See? But anyway, on with the bookshelf tour. Ooh, this is a really cool angle here. How about I do this? Here I have the collected poems of J.R.R. Tolkien, Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3. The History of the Hobbit, The Nature of Middle-earth, The Legend of Sigurd and Gudrun, The Letters of J.R.R. Tolkien, and finally this, which, these are not books. These are the extended editions of The Lord of the Rings. I love this. They even have, like, a huge map inside. And then I think eventually the last shelf will also be filled with books, but for now it's just filled with a bunch of papers. And we cannot forget the legendary Pringles scepter. And also this little painting of Gandalf that my uncle drew. And all the way up here we have my new bookshelf, which was not here last time you saw my bookshelf tour. So we're gonna start like right over here and then work our way all the way towards the end. The Encyclopedia of Literature. I'm literally standing on top of a chair with 1 foot right now, and this is very dangerous. We have here a 4th edition of the Webster's New World College Dictionary. Dictionary of quotations. This is basically like a really helpful thing where you can look inside it for a certain word, such as, you know, love or reading or people or I don't know, just any topic you want, and it'll have a bunch of quotes in it on that very topic from different famous writers, which I really love about this. The Illustrated Bible Dictionary. The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. And here I have the Raising Dragons series by Brian Davis. All of these books are signed because I actually met the author of this series once, which was amazing. It starts with Raising Dragons, and here, let me see if I can find where he signed it. Right there. The Candlestone, Circles of 7, not Sixes of 7. And finally, Tears of a Dragon. Then we have the Adabin Cipher duology, which includes the Book of Secrets and the Book of Answers. And then the Mapmaker Chronicles, Race to the End of the World, Prisoner of the Black Hawk, and finally, Breath of the Dragon. My legs are so stiff right now. Okay, we're kinda lopsided here, but this is the best I can do. The next one is the Impossible Quest series. This series is an okay series. It's basically just like every fantasy book ever. It has like every fantasy trope that's ever existed inside it. And it's not a very unique or moving story for me. I didn't really feel much emotion while reading it, or attachment to the characters, but it's still overall an okay series that I moderately enjoyed. Escape from Wolfhaven Castle, Wolves of the Witchwood, The Beast of Blackmoor Bog, The Drowned Kingdom, and Battle of the Heroes. I would recommend this series for anyone just wanting like an easy, quick, fun read, but they're nothing really that special in my opinion. The Whale Who Won Hearts, and More True Stories of Adventures with Animals. I cannot remember how long I've owned this book for. And then I have the first 6 books in the How to Train Your Dragon series. I have read the entire series, but unfortunately I only own books 1 through 6. Starting up, of course, with How to Train Your Dragon, How to Be a Pirate, How to Speak Dragonese, How to Cheat a Dragon's Curse, How to Twist a Dragon's Tail, and A Hero's Guide to Deadly Dragons. So I'm sure everyone watching this has heard of and, at least seen the How to Train Your Dragon movies, but something that a lot of people don't know is that the movies are actually based off of books, and I highly recommend you read the books. They are better than the movies. The movies are really good, of course, but the books are way better. And also, the movies and the books are so different. Basically, the only thing that's similar between the two is the names of everyone. Okay, so because the tripod isn't this high, I think I'm unfortunately going to have to hold the camera in my hand, so hopefully this goes well. The Picture of Dorian Gray. I know this is a classic, but to be honest with you, it's the only classic that I do not like at all. Next we have Oliver Twist. I have not read this book yet, but I really want to. I've only read bits and parts of it so far. Then we have a few books by the genius writer known by the name of Roald Dahl. We have Matilda, the BFG, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, probably the greatest book that Roald Dahl has ever written, George's Marvelous Medicine, Helen Keller, The Story of My Life. I read this recently and absolutely loved it. Famous Tales of Mystery and Horror by Edgar Allan Poe. I also read this one recently, and it's basically a collection of short stories by Edgar Allan Poe. The Holy War by John Bunyan, another recent read of mine. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Mudshark by Gary Paulson. The Secret Cave. And next I have the entire Inheritance series. I really love this series. Aragon, Eldest, Bersinger, and Inheritance. The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. I have read all of the Hunger Games books, but this is the only one that I actually own. Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, illustrated and annotated edition. I read this entire series a while back. Norse Magic, Runes, and Mythology. A Gathering of Days. Carry On, Mr. Bowditch. The Bronze Bow by Elizabeth George Spear. Oh, my arms are getting really tired. The Extraordinary Education of Nicholas Benedict by Trenton Lee Stewart. The Ribbajack and Other Curious Yarns. This is a collection of short stories by Brian Jakes, and yes, it is pronounced Jakes. Here I have a whole bunch of Brian Jakes books. So first of all, we've got the Flying Dutchman trilogy, Castaways of the Flying Dutchman, The Angel's Command, and finally, Voyage of Slaves. And next up is most of the books in the Redwall series. The series is so long, it has like 20 books in it. And I own 18 out of those 20 Redwall books. Redwall, Mossflower, Matameo, Mariel of Redwall, Salamandastron, Martin the Warrior, The Bellmaker, Outcast of Redwall, Pearls of Lutra, The Long Patrol, Marlfox, The Legend of Luke, Lord Brocktree, Tagarung, in my opinion, the greatest Redwall book. Triss, Loam Hedge. Rackety Tam, which unfortunately is missing its dust jacket. And then we're going to skip right ahead to book 19, which is called Eulalia. I listened to all the audiobooks of this series when I was way younger, and I absolutely loved them. This still has to be one of my favorite series ever, and I want to collect all of the books eventually, but this series is so long. And then right here, I have a box set of all the Harry Potter books in paperback. Jack, stay up. No, come on, don't fall over. Do not fall over. Good boy. Okay, so we got Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and finally, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. This will always be one of my most favorite series, as it was the series I first read when I was about, 7 years old that first, really made me a reader, and I was still technically a reader before that, I read Redwall, I read Narnia, but this series is really what made me fall in love with reading. Writers Inc., A Guide to Writing, Thinking, and Learning. This has been such a great book for me, and helping me with my own writing. The Way of Kings by Brando Sandyfoot. Spiders and Their Kin. Just a random book that's all about different types of spiders. Here we have Leo's Toy Store by War and Peace. We got Garfield, Bacon Me Drool. Here, I'll just stick you up there, Garfield. And then we've got The Fallacy Detective. This is an amazing book all about logic and how to detect logical fallacies. And this random book, The Guideposts Family Concordance, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't honestly know where I got this book or why I even own it. I haven't even opened it in years. And then Exploring Creation with Marine Biology. And then we've got a few notebooks down here. Dangerous Journey, Story of the Pilgrim's Progress, and Alice in Wonderland. There we go. My hands are literally trembling, and my legs are so stiff right now. I've been standing on this chair forever. But that is my huge, big, central bookshelf right against my ceiling. And then, of course, we've got the bookshelf that you're all used to seeing in all of my videos right here. Got my hats hanging up here, just a random bag hanging up there. We got a little, what do you call that thing? The thing that blocks sound. Not sure what you call it. Feels very nice. And this string up here, so there's a story behind this string. In the early days of my channel, I would tie this string around a piece of cardboard, and on the cardboard I would nail on the notes for my video. And I think in my earliest videos you can still see me looking off into the distance at times while I speak, and that's because I'm looking at my notes that were hanging on a piece of cardboard on this string. And I've just never taken this string down. I don't do that now, of course, because, I can't constantly be looking off into the distance to read off the notes for my video anymore. But I've just never taken this string down for some reason. First of all, we've got a few Tolkien maps on the wall, which I hung up here a while ago, and I've never taken them down. And here we have just a whole bunch of Harry Potter books. Let's start off over here with the special illustrated editions of Harry Potter, which I love all of these editions. The illustrations are just amazing. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. These editions are all just enormous, and I don't think they've released the next illustrated book in the series yet. I don't know, though. I haven't checked in a while. And then we got more Harry Potter! Yay! So this is just the entire Harry Potter series, but in hardcover. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and finally, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. And then we got this. We got Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. This is technically the 8th Harry Potter book, although it is a screenplay, but it is considered to be the next book in this series, as it is a sequel to the last Harry Potter book. But I do not consider this to be part of the Harry Potter series, because this is not a good book at all. I read it like once or twice, and I did not like it. I have not reread it in, I haven't reread it in a while, actually, and I do not consider it to be part of the series. Here, we're gonna have to move you over a bit, buddy. There we go. We got here the Hogwarts Library Collection, which includes the tales of Beetle the Bard, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, and Quidditch Through the Ages. All these Hogwarts Library books are amazing. They delve into the history of the wizarding world and all this Harry Potter lore, and I really like the Hogwarts Library Collection. The Harry Potter Spellbook, I love this. This is just a book with a bunch of spells that are used in Harry Potter, and me and my friends have a lot of fun using all these spells at each other. A really old edition of The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, an amazing book. And The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, another amazing book, both by Mark Twain. And here we got this amazing boxed set of the Space Trilogy by C.S. Lewis. In my opinion, the Space Trilogy is C.S. Lewis's greatest work. We've got Out of the Silent Planet, Paralandra, and That Hideous Strength. Seriously, guys, if you haven't read the Space Trilogy, you're really missing out. It's amazing. Moving up to the next shelf, we've got The Complete Sherlock Holmes Volume 1. This includes 3 of the original Sherlock Holmes novels and 24 short stories. And a very old and battered copy of The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, another collection of short stories of Sherlock Holmes, and the cover is literally hanging on by a string. And then we've got a bunch of books by S.D. Smith, one of my favorite authors. The Green Ember, Ember Falls, Ember Rising, and Ember's End. The Lost Key, The Last Archer, The First Fowler, The Archer's Cup, The Black Star of Kingston, The Wreck and Rise of Whitsun Mariner, and Prince Lander and the Dragon War. And I do also own Hilmer in the Dragon Tomb, which is another Green Ember book, but my friend is currently borrowing it, so unfortunately I cannot show it to you now. Jack Zulu and the Waylander's Key, Mooses with Bazookas, and Other Stories Children Should Never Read, which is that's a total lie, by the way. Children should definitely read this book. And next up is another favorite of mine, The Wingfeather Saga. Just an amazing, stunning book series. And first up, we got these 2 books from Yonder Glen. Pembroke's Creaturepedia, which is kind of like Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, only it's for Wingfeather Saga, and it has all these crazy animals from the world of the Wingfeather Saga. And A Ranger's Guide to Glipwood Forest, which has a lot more world building in it. And this is another book that I really love. But now we start up with the actual Wingfeather Saga series, and we start with On the Edge of the Dark Sea of Darkness. North or Be Eaten. I've always thought that this is a great title for a book. The Monster in the Hollows. And The Warden and the Wolf King. That is the end of the Wingfeather Saga series, but there's also this, Wingfeather Tales, which is basically a collection of short stories from the world of the Wingfeather Saga. Next up is another favorite of mine, which is the Narnia series. Move you over there. I'm gonna move these 2 books away. There! The Narnia series. We've got The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. By the way, something I noticed about the title of this book is that it's in the opposite order of when the things happen in the book. First, they go through the wardrobe, and then they meet the witch, and lastly, the lion. So for the title, it's just in the opposite order. The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, and finally, The Last Battle. And in case you were wondering, this little guy on top of here, his name is Jeffrey. Dune by Frank Herbert. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, one of the greatest books I have ever read in my entire life. And then we've got a few books from the Wheel of Time series. The Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, The Dragon Reborn. And then I do not actually own the 4th book in the Wheel of Time, so we're just going to skip over right to book 5, which is called The Fires of Heaven. I'm currently reading this book, as you can see. And then book 6, which I have not yet read, is called Lord of Chaos. Okay, we're getting close to the end. My arms are so tired right now. Oh, and I forgot to show you from the previous shelf, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. I love this book. This is an old favorite of mine. I listened to the audiobook when I was younger, and I bought this recently so I could reread it. My arms are so sore right now, but I'm just gonna keep on going. Beowulf. A very old edition of Longfellow's poems, which my great-great-grandmother used to own, and I love the poems of Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. We've got Robinson Crusoe by Daniel Defoe. I read this book once a while ago, but I haven't read it in a while. Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson, another book I read a few years ago. Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare, I have not read this one yet. And then this, which is a collection of 2 of Charles Dickens' novels. It includes Great Expectations and The Uncommercial Traveler. I've only read part of Great Expectations so far. Here we've got this enormous tome, which is the complete works of William Shakespeare. This book is a complete brick. It's got all of Shakespeare's poems and plays in it. And man, like, the print is so small and the book is just so huge. Best Loved Poems of Best Loved Poets. An amazing collection of different poems. These 2 really old books that my grandfather recently gave to me, well, I say recently, it was more like half a year or a year ago that he gave them to me, but they've been sitting in his basement for, like, forever, and these are Latin versions of the Aeneid and Cicero's Orations, and these are all written in Latin, of course. These are really old. They were used in the late 1800s by a school teacher, and I don't know how they ended up in my grandfather's basement. Here, I think I should probably move a couple of these books out of the way. Over here we've got The Secret Garden. This is a really good book. I really enjoyed it. And then we've got books 3 and 4 in the Flavia de Luce series. I have read this entire series. And I do own books 1 and 2, but a friend of mine is currently borrowing it, so I can't show them to you. But it is A Red Herring Without Mustard, and I Am Half Sick of Shadows. Both very good books. I love the entire Flavia de Luce series. And then The Narnia Code by Michael Ward, a fascinating book on some of the hidden messages behind Narnia. And I highly recommend you read this if you're a fan of Narnia and C.S. Lewis's works. And also, just randomly, we got the 2nd book in the Mysterious Benedict Society called The Mysterious Benedict Society and the Perilous Journey. I love all of the Mysterious Benedict Society books, and for some reason this one is just completely missing its cover. I have no idea what happened to the cover. And here we have an amazing collection of these really old editions of classics that my grandmother gave to me. We've got Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. I did read this a while back, and I remember I didn't really like it as much as I thought I would, but maybe I should reread it because my opinion might be different if I reread it. And then all the covers are blank, so you can just see the spines here. We've got A Tale of Two Cities. I haven't read this yet, but I really want to. House of the Seven Gables, another one I haven't read. Travels of Marco Polo. I've only read bits and pieces of this. Poe's Masterpieces of Mystery. I've read most of this. And the rest I haven't read. There's Silas Marner, Autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, Wuthering Heights, and then Tom Sawyer, which I have actually read. And I think I had another edition of it down there, actually. And Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, a book I really want to read soon. Here we've got 3 picture books that my aunt actually wrote. This is Canada and the Netherlands, a World War II story. Anna's Big Adventure, a 1950s Canada immigration story. And Exploring Canada with Our Senses. These are all just picture books about Canada that I recommend. And also, my aunt wrote them. Beautiful edition of The Art of War by Sun Tzu, a very good book. Another beautiful collection of a bunch of poems. The Story of King Arthur and His Knights by Howard Pyle. An amazing book. I've always loved all the King Arthur stories, and I read a lot of them when I was younger. Okay, we're getting so close to the end. This is the top shelf. Over here I've got a little poster of the Eagle and Child, which is a pub in Oxford that Tolkien, C.S. Lewis, and a bunch of their friends regularly met to talk about their books and just other books. And up here, let me stand on a chair here. Up here we have a collection of all of my diaries. You know what, I'm gonna have to hold the camera in my hand again. So we've got Micah's Secret Diary, Volume 1. I wrote this way back in 2020 when the COVID pandemic was happening. Can you believe it's actually been 6 years since COVID? Micah's Secret Diary, Volume 2. Volume 3. Volume 4. Volume 5. Volume 6. Yeah, sorry, the lighting is really bad back here. Volume 7. Volume 8. Volume 9. Volume 10. Volume 11. Volume 12. Volume 13. Volume 14. Volume 15. Volume 16. And finally, Volume 17. Yeah, I'm trying to rival Diary of a Wimpy Kid in terms of the number of diaries that I own, and I fill in each and every page of these diaries as well. I've been writing them since about, 2020, and at the end of every day, I just, write a page or two about the events that happened that day, random thoughts that I had during the day, the amount of pages I read that day, the amount of words I wrote that day, and all this stuff. Here, I have 3 of these little mini diaries, and I call these my dream diaries, where I write down just all the dreams that I have. And I'm still writing in this first one. As you can see, my pen is right here. And these next 2 mini ones have not been filled out yet. But once I fill out this one, then I'll fill out the other 2 with all the dreams that I have. A Christmas Carol and Other Holiday Treasures by Charles Dickens. I've only read 3 of the stories out of the 5 that are in this volume, and they were all fantastic. A Christmas Carol is just so great. You should definitely read it. The Iliad and the Odyssey by Homer. I am currently reading the Iliad right now. Then over here we've got sort of my Percy Jackson collection. We've got the big poster up here. And then we've got the Kane Chronicles, which are these 3 books. I've only read the first book so far, and it wasn't very good. I do want to read the rest of the series at some point, but for me the first book was just not very good, in my opinion. So the Kane Chronicles includes The Red Pyramid, The Throne of Fire, and The Serpent's Shadow. Then, of course, we got the main Percy Jackson series, which are amazing books. I read them just a few months ago, and it is one of my favorite series ever. So much better than the Kane Chronicles, which is by the same author. But the Percy Jackson series is amazing, guys. If you haven't read it already, you definitely should. The Lightning Thief, The Sea of Monsters, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and finally, The Last Olympian. And then these next 2 are not part of the main series. I haven't actually read them yet. Percy Jackson's Greek Gods, and Percy Jackson's Greek Heroes. From my understanding, these are retellings of original Greek myths. Then right here, we've just got a stack of a bunch of random books. We've got A Ring of Endless Light. I haven't read this yet. And then, don't even ask, I found these at a little free library. Twilight and Eclipse, which is book 2 or 3 of the, book 3 of the Twilight Saga. I've not read Twilight yet. I'm not exactly sure if I want to, but I'm going to, okay? Just out of pure interest. I'm going to read Twilight soon, okay? If these books had not been free, I would not have got them. And then we've got The Epic of Gilgamesh. I really want to read this one soon. Watership Down by Richard Adams. I've read some of this, but not all of it. But from what I read, it was pretty good. And then randomly, we've got the 3rd book in the Dune saga by Frank Herbert, which is Children of Dune. I have read this, and it was sort of an okay book, but not the best in my opinion. Over here, we've just got a random stack of, papers. Then I've got a few notebooks down here. I haven't filled out all of this one yet, but then, down here, we got this notebook. I filled out most of it, and I filled out all of this notebook so far. We've just got microphone over there, green eggs and ham, and a collection of Coke bottles. So there you go, everyone. That is my updated bookshelf tour of 2026.